Looking back now, I wonder how I could have been so blind. Maybe I didn't want to see them. Lucy was my best friend. No, she was more than that. She was like my sister. We grew up together, spent almost every waking moment side by side, and trusted each other with everything. She knew me better than anyone else in the world. Or so I thought. It all started the day I met Jake. He wasn't like anyone I'd ever known. He had this way of making you feel like you were the only person in the room, even in a crowded space. He wasn't just charming, he was warm, genuine, and so effortlessly funny. I found myself laughing at his jokes even when they weren't that great, just because of the way he delivered them. At first, I kept my feelings to myself. But as they grew stronger, I did what I always did when I had a secret. I told Lucy. She was the one person I trusted with everything, the keeper of all my dreams and fears. I remember sitting on my bed, nervous but excited, as I told her about Jake. Her reaction was exactly what I expected. She teased me in that playful way of hers, saying I was smitten, but her smile told me she was genuinely happy for me. She even offered to join one of our study group sessions to check him out and give me the green light, as she put it. At the time, I thought she was just being supportive. Now, I realize she had other intentions. The first time Lucy met Jake, I noticed something, a spark of recognition in her eyes, a shift in her tone when she talked to him. But I brushed it off. She was just being her usual, confident self, the girl who could make friends with anyone in minutes. She was there to help me, after all. As weeks went by, little things started to nag at me. Lucy seemed to find excuses to join our study sessions more often. She laughed a little too loudly at his jokes, leaned in a little too close when they talked. And Jake, he seemed just as friendly with her as he was with me. I told myself I was imagining it, that I was being paranoid. Then came the night of the party. Lucy insisted we go, saying it would be the perfect chance for me to spend time with Jake outside the study group. She helped me get ready, hyping me up the entire time. She even let me borrow her favorite dress, saying it looked better on me anyway. I believed her. I thought she wanted me to shine. The party was chaotic, with music blasting and people crammed into every corner. I felt out of place, but Lucy thrived in that kind of environment. She mingled effortlessly while I stuck to the edges of the room, looking for Jake. When I finally spotted him, Lucy nudged me toward him and disappeared into the crowd. I spent a few minutes talking to Jake, feeling the familiar flutter of nerves in my stomach. He was as kind and charming as ever, but something felt off. He kept glancing over my shoulder, distracted. I turned to see what he was looking at, and there she was, Lucy, laughing with a group of people but stealing glances in our direction. Later that night, I lost track of both of them. I wandered through the house, searching, my unease growing with every step. When I finally found them, my world came crashing down. They were in the living room, standing close, too close. I watched as Lucy leaned in, her hand brushing his arm, and Jake didn't pull away. He leaned in, too, and kissed her. In that moment, it felt like time stopped. My chest tightened, and my legs felt like they were going to give out. I stood there, frozen, unable to process what I was seeing. This wasn't just a kiss, it was a betrayal of everything I thought we had. Lucy, my best friend, the person I trusted with my heart, had taken it and crushed it in the cruelest way possible. Lucy noticed me first. Her face paled, and she stepped back, but it was too late. Jake turned to look at me, his expression a mix of guilt and something else, relief, maybe. I didn't give either of them a chance to explain. I turned and walked out, tears blurring my vision as I pushed through the crowd. The days that followed were unbearable. Lucy called and texted constantly, but I ignored her. I didn't want to hear whatever excuses she had. I couldn't face Jake, either. The thought of seeing him again, of hearing his voice, made me feel physically ill. I replayed the scene over and over in my head. I couldn't understand how Lucy could do this to me. She wasn't just a friend, she was family to me. I had trusted her with my deepest fears, my most vulnerable thoughts, and she had turned that trust into a weapon. And Jake, he wasn't blameless either. He had made me believe in something real, only to shatter it with a single, careless act. What hurt the most was how blindsided I felt. There were signs, yes, but I had dismissed them. Lucy was always someone I could depend on. She had been there through every heartbreak, every triumph, every sleepless night spent dreaming about the future. She knew how much Jake meant to me, yet she chose to betray me anyway. Eventually, I confided in my mom. She didn't pry or lecture, she just listened. I broke down while telling her everything, the hurt spilling out in a flood of tears and words. She hugged me and said something that stayed with me: betrayal doesn't define you. It defines them. You deserve people who honor your trust, not break it. Her words were a turning point for me. I realized that I couldn't let Lucy's actions control my life. I couldn't let Jake's betrayal dictate how I saw myself. So, I started to focus on healing. I threw myself into things that made me happy: art, reading, long walks in the park. I spent more time with friends who truly cared about me. They didn't pry for details or try to fix things, they just stood by me, reminding me that I wasn't alone. Months later, Lucy sent me a long message. She apologized, saying she didn't know what she was thinking, that she missed me and wanted to fix things. But I couldn't bring myself to respond. Some wounds cut too deep, and some friendships aren't worth saving. Jake, on the other hand, tried a different approach. He showed up at my door one evening, looking nervous and regretful. He said he had made a mistake, that he still cared about me and wanted another chance. But by then, I had learned to value myself more. I told him that his mistake was something I couldn't overlook. Looking back now, I see that experience as a painful but necessary lesson. It taught me to value myself, to set boundaries, and to be cautious with my trust. Losing Lucy and Jake hurt, but it made room in my life for better, more genuine relationships. Betrayal has a way of breaking you, but it also has a way of revealing your strength. And now, when I think of that night, I don't feel anger or sadness, I feel grateful. Grateful for the lessons I learned, for the people who stood by me, and for the chance to rebuild my life on a foundation of trust and self-respect.